The story of Beth Thomas is as heartbreaking as it is frightening. She was a beautiful little girl with striking blue eyes who lost her mother when she was a year old. Beth and her brother, Jonathan, were left with their biological father, who sexually abused them. She was only 19 months old and Jonathan 7 months when they were taken away by Child Protective Services. The little boy had been left in his cot all day, every day, leaving him with an oddly shaped head. The siblings were adopted by a childless couple who soon realized all wasn't well with Beth. By the time she was 6, a documentary had been made about the young girl and her extremely worrying and violent behavior. In the documentary, released in 1990, Beth talks about her adoptive parents' habit of locking her in her room to prevent her from stabbing them to death. She also talks about how she herself had sexually abused her younger brother, tortured the family dog, and killed baby birds she had found in a nest. At one point Beth even smashed Jonathan's head into a concrete floor, trying to kill him. Beth was diagnosed with RAD, reactive attachment disorder, which left her unable to form any attachment to a caregiver. Her adoptive parents, Tim and Julie, eventually turned to controversial therapist Connell Watkins, who offered to help them. Within a year, Beth's symptoms improved to the extent that she could show remorse for her actions towards her brother. Years later, Beth Thomas has turned her situation around. She is a qualified nurse and has published a book with the help of her second adoptive mother, Nancy.
On June 12, 1977, George Childs and his son were driving down Holcombe Road in Buckingham Township when he spotted an object in the underbrush of a steep rise known as Church Hill. He drove across the railroad tracks and headed up the hill to get a closer look. He and his son then made the terrifying discovery of the naked body of a woman lying face down about 10 feet down the slope. They continued driving on to the next house and asked that the owner call the police. 15 minutes later, the area was swamped with police officers. A team of officers and paramedics were tasked with turning the body over, and it was only then that the true extent of the crime was revealed. 20-year-old Shawn Eileen Ritterson had been eviscerated, with nearly all her lower organs removed. Her insides had been washed out and stuffed with a towel. She had bruising at the back of her scalp, indicating that she had been struck with a heavy object and had multiple stab wounds to her chest. At the time, detectives thought the viciousness of the murder may have been part of a dark ritual or even to tear out an unborn child. The young woman's uncle, Harry Ritterson, was initially suspected of her murder, and many family members also believed that he was the murderer. However, he was never charged, and no other suspects were ever identified. Shawn Ritterson's murder remains a mystery. Six-year-old Alicia McPhail was visiting her grandparents on the Isle of Bute in 2018 when the unthinkable happened. 16-year-old Aaron Campbell crept into the family's home, looking to steal cannabis. When he saw the little girl sleeping, all thoughts of the drug escaped his mind. Instead, he abducted her, carried her to an abandoned hotel, and raped her. He then applied pressure to her face and neck until she stopped breathing. Alicia's body was found within 3 hours of her being reported missing on July 2, 2018. A post-mortem revealed the little girl had suffered 117 injuries. Campbell was arrested 2 days later. After initially denying that he had anything to do with the horrific crime, Campbell confessed that once he had laid eyes on Alicia, he couldn't stop thinking about killing her. During his trial, he also claimed that in the year preceding the murder, he constantly thought about killing or raping someone. Campbell was amused that it took police 2 days to arrest him and said, "It took great restraint on his part to keep from laughing during the trial." While confessing to the murder, he even told authorities that he was quite satisfied with the murder. He was handed a 27-year sentence, which was reduced by 3 years in 2019.